डॉक्टर बाबासाहेब आंबेडकर ओपन युनिव्हर्सिटी.
Namaskar dear students, I am Dr. Himanshu Patel and I am working as an assistant professor in School of Computer Science of Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University, and I am your instructor for this module. In today's session, we are going to learn about very interesting topic, that is web service and JSON. So let us start. In today's session, we will learn about web services, features and functions of web service, what is JavaScript object notation or JSON, what is JSON object and JSON array, and we will use asynchronous task to call web service. And finally, we will take one demonstration to call web service using asynchronous task, and we will take data in form of JSON. So let us start with learning objectives. After studying these module, learner should be able to define web service, list key features and functions of web service, define JSON, list difference between XML and JSON. They can use JSON classes and they can use asynchronous task to access web service. Let us start with what is web service. So we can say web service includes any software, application or cloud technology that provides standardized web protocol such as HTTP or HTTPS to interoperate, communicate and exchange data messaging, usually XML format, throughout the internet. So basically web service provide mechanism to exchange data between different applications, and there are two choices for exchange data. One popular is XML, but nowadays we use JSON, that is JavaScript object notation. Either XML or JSON can be used for data exchange between two applications. Web services are data exchange system that use the internet application to application communication and interfacing. For example, one application is written in .NET, one application is written in Java, one application is written in PHP. So we have written code for three different functionality in three different languages, right? But one language can not use coding of another language. So for that, what they can do is they can use functionality of each other by calling web service. And when you call web service, it returns data either in XML format or JSON format, which is interpret and parse or converted into format required by the application. So this is how web service works. Let us understand features of web service. A key feature of web service is that application can be written in various language and are still be able to communicate by exchanging data with one another via web service between clients and server. So let us clear this with figure. On figure you can see that there are different functionality written in different languages and they can use this functionality through web services. For example, one temperature conversion application is written in Java and inside PHP I want to use that application. So for temperature conversion we requires two things. One, temperature itself. Second, unit in which I want to convert the temperature, right? So for what I can do is from PHP I can provide this data to Java application, that this is my temperature and this is unit into which I want to convert my temperature, and that Java application will execute that code and returns converted temperature to PHP application through web services. So, this is how web services works. And remember, the data that is exchanged is either in XML format or it may be in JSON format. What are the functions of web services? First, it is available over the internet or intranet networks. That means it may be local within network or it may be available for all through internet. Second, it use standard messaging system. The data exchange is always takes place in standard format. It is independent of single operating system or programming language. Why? We have already understand this. So, it is independent of operating system as well as programming language, and it is self-describing via standard XML language. Now, we take example of temperature conversion. So, how other application can know what type of data I should submit and what kind of result I will get? So, that is described by XML format. So, it is self-describing and description is given in XML language. So, one can easily understand, and it is discoverable through a simple location method. We have to just use one URL and provide data to web service, and it can give you desired results. I hope you understand what is web services. The second part, web service can be written in any language, right? But the data that is exchanged between applications are in two formats we have mentioned. One is XML and another is JSON. So, in this session we will discuss about JSON. Full form of JSON is JavaScript Object Notation, and it is lightweight data interchange format. It is easy for human to read and write, and it is also easy for machines to parse and generate. For example, I want to access data of student, right? So, data is available in database. So, any programming language can establish connection with database and fetch particular student detail, right? So, that data is provided finally in XML or JSON format. So, computer can easily parse or manipulate or convert data into desired format. It is based on a subset of JavaScript programming language. So, if you are familiar with JavaScript, you can easily understand JSON. JSON is a text format that is completely language independent, but uses convention that are familiar to programming of C family languages, including C, C++, C#, Java, JavaScript, Perl, Python, and many languages. For example, array objects are separated by comma and enclosed within curly braces. So, you might know that various languages declare array in same format. So, it is very easy. Now, these properties make JSON an ideal data interchange language. So, you can easily exchange data in JSON format to any language. JSON is used to extract information from the URL. Now, web service is described using some URL, and we have to provide some parameters required by the web service. So, JSON is used to extract information from the URL, which may be web service. Second, it is an alternative to XML. Earlier web services exchange data in XML format, but it is difficult to parse or manipulate or extract information from XML format, but it is very easy to extract information from JSON format. That is why JSON emerged. Android provides support to parse the JSON object and JSON array. It provides easy and flexible way to work with it. So, you need not require anything else. The Android itself provides support to extract information from JSON. XML language is also widely used for the representation of arbitrary data structure such as those used in web services. But what is difference between JSON and XML? We will discuss shortly, but we can remember that XML requires more storage space and it is difficult to parse compared to JSON. Both XML and JSON are self-describing and can be parsed and used by lots of programming language. Why we have to use JSON? So, for that we have to understand the difference between JSON and XML. So, there may be other differences also, but I have listed only important differences, right. So, first, JSON is data oriented. The purpose of JSON is to exchange data, but XML is also used for other purposes. So, it is a document oriented. The second difference is the data types supported by JSON are string, number, boolean, null and array, while in XML all data is in string format. JSON is quicker to read and write, but XML file takes time to read and write because of it use tag. JSON can use array to represent data, but XML cannot contain the concept of array. Then JSON can be parsed by standard JavaScript function and it has to be parsed before use. XML data must be parsed with respect to their programming language, but XML data must be parsed with respect to their programming language. And in case of JSON, file size is smaller as compared to XML, but if you write same data in XML, then it requires more file size because of every information is provided with tag. Now, why should we use JSON instead of XML? The answer is XML is much more difficult to parse than JSON, and JSON is parsed into ready to use JavaScript object. Now, what is the advantage is you can use method of those object to quickly manipulate data. So, these are the major advantage of JSON over XML. But remember, JSON is less secure compared to XML. That is also you have to think. Now, let us try to understand structure of JavaScript object notation. So, basically it uses two structure. First is called JSON object. JSON object is an unordered set of name value pairs, and in various languages this is realized as an object, record, structure, dictionary, hash table, keyed list or associative array. So, you will always find equivalent data in other programming language also. So, it is easy to understand. The second structure is called JSON array. So, JSON array is an ordered collection of values. A value can be a string in double quotes, or a number, or true or false, that is boolean, or null, or an object, or an array. So, these structure can be nested. We can have array within array, we can have object within object, etc. Now, in most language, this is realized as an array, vector, list, or sequence. So, again JSON array is easy to understand, JSON object is easy to understand. Now, let us understand JSON object. So, JSON object is a class with name value mapping. In a JSON, curly bracket represent JSON object. So, wherever you see curly bracket, it means a one object, right? A JSON object contains key value pair, same as map. The keys are string and the values are JSON types. And what are the types supported by JSON? Number, string, boolean, null, array, etc. And keys and values are separated by comma. Now, let us take one example so you can easily understand. Here you can see curly bracket. So, curly bracket represent object. So, inside curly bracket we have object name is student and its value is again object and it represents three values. ID is 1. So, number is written without double quotes, but strings are always written with double quotes. So, username or student name is string. So, it is written in double quotes. Again, program in which student enroll is represented by uprog and it is a string, right. So, we can write down object like this. Now, let us understand JSON array through example. So, here you can see students, after students there is a square bracket. So, square bracket represent array. Now, here you can see that array element are objects and they are separated by comma. So, immediately after square bracket you will see two curly brackets. So, it represent object. So, that is first object, then there is a comma and again curly brackets. So, it is another object and then comma and then again curly brackets. So, we can understand that this is a array of object and there are three objects inside this array. So, on screen you can see that this is a JSON object, right. This is another JSON object. This is third JSON object. Each object contains key value pair. So, you can see uprog is key and MCA is its value. Numbers are written without double quotes and string values are written with double quotes. All array element must be separated by comma and we can say square bracket represent array. So, you can say this square bracket is array of JSON objects and name of these array is students. We can represent data using JSON object and JSON array. Now, suppose you will get these data, right. So, how to parse or extract information from these data? For that it provides various methods, right. So, let us understand methods of JSON object. So, on screen you can see JSON object and we can have string as an object. So it creates new JSON object with name value mapping from JSON string. If I write down get method and provide some string, it returns the value mapped by name or throws if no such mapping exists. So it either returns value of this name or it may throw some error or exception. Then we have get integer, get double, get boolean, etc. So return type is represented by type, method name is get, and type name, which type may be anything, and string name represent value of key. So to retrieve a mandatory value, get type method is used, and it fails with a JSON exception if the requested name has no value or if the value cannot be corrected to the requested type. So if type is wrong or that name does not exist, then it throws exception. So this is how we can use get type. Then there is a opt type to retrieve optional value. Now these return system or user supplied default if the requested name has no value or if the value cannot be corrected to the requested type. So in case of optional value, we can also supply default values, which is supplied if no value is given. Then we have get JSON array method to extract JSON array, and we have to supply name. So it returns the value mapped by name if it exists and is a JSON array, or it may throw exception otherwise. And another method is get JSON object, which returns particular JSON object represented by name. So it returns the value mapped by the name if it exists and is a JSON object, or it may throw exception if it is not there. So these are the methods of JSON objects. We have discussed two major things. One is what is web service, how it works, and second, the data format used by web service, which is JSON. Now here we discuss asynchronous task. In Android, we have to call web service, right? And it returns data in either XML format or JSON format. So to call a web service, we can use this class, asynchronous task. So asynchronous task was intended to enable proper and easy use of the user interface thread. Asynchronous task should ideally be used for short operation, a few seconds at the most. So for very long operation, it is not recommended to use asynchronous task. An asynchronous task is defined by computation that runs on a background thread and whose result is published on the user interface thread. So when you call web service, it takes some time to process data and return results. So that is done in background, and once that operation is finished, that result is returned in either XML or JSON format, and it is parsed or information is extracted from that result and is displayed on user interface, right? Now asynchronous task must be subclass to be used. So we have to define one class which extends this asynchronous task class, and we have to define 4 methods inside it. Now these subclass will override at least one method. There are 4 methods, right? But you have to override at least one method, that is do in background process, and it may take multiple parameters or variable parameters, and most often will override second one, that is on post execute results. It means after processing what we want to do. So, at least two methods must be override to inside asynchronous task subclass. Now, let us understand these 4 steps or methods that you can see on the screen. So, first is on pre-execute. You can call these method automatically by calling execute method of this class. So, in order it executes on pre-execute. So, what is on pre-execute? It invoked on the user interface thread before the task is executed. So, before do in background it calls on pre-execute, and this step is normally used to set up the task, for instance by showing progress bar in the user interface. I can suppose I want to fetch data of student, I can display in progress bar that contacting server or fetching data or loading result, something like that. Then second method call is do in background. It is invoked on the background thread immediately after on pre-execute finishes executing. So, once you display that progress bar, you can start do in background. If you do not write down anything inside on pre-execute, it will immediately call do in background. This step is used to perform background computation that can take a long time. The parameters of the asynchronous task are passed to this step, and the result of the computation must be written by this step and will be passed back to the last step. So, basically on pre-execution we perform initialization task or task such as displaying progress bar. But inside do in background we actually write down code to perform background task, and remember it will run in background thread. So, it will not affect your app performance. Then there is a on progress update, which is method used to display any form of progress in the user interface while the background operation is still executing. For instance, it can be used to animate a progress bar or show logs in a text. That means if your operation is long and you want to display its progress 10%, 20% and so on, then you can write that code inside on progress update method. And last is on post execute. It is invoked on the user interface thread after the background computation finishes, and the result of the background computation is passed to this step as a parameter. So, remember the first is on pre-execute, second is do in background, third is on progress update, and fourth is on post execute. And normally we display result in user interface in this step. We will take one demonstration so that you can better understand all these tasks. Let us try to understand how to parse data from actual web service or URL. So, on screen you can see here I write down one URL that returns this JSON data. So, what we will do is we provide this URL to asynchronous task, and whatever result written by that URL in JSON format will be displayed in our user interface. So, here you can see the extracted information ID, username and its program inside list view. So, we create this user interface where either we can fetch particular student data by providing ID, but here when user clicks on get all student data, we will call this URL, fetch this data and display inside list view. below result. So here it is empty, so you cannot see anything in list view, but there is a list view, and when user clicks on get or all student data, we will display all fetch data in form of JSON data or written by that URL inside list view. So this is how we can fetch multiple data at a time using web service or URL. The second type of data that is written by web services is particular student data. So I have written one service inside ASP.NET and VB as a language. So here you can see when I provide ID, that particular ID data is written by web service. So these curly bracket represent data in JSON format and is written by these web service, and I want to extract these information and display inside list view. So when user enters this ID and clicks on get student data for given ID, we will fetch data from these URL in JSON format and display inside this list view. So I hope you understand this functionality. So we will write down that code inside Android Studio. Now let us sum up this module. So in this module, we have learned about web service, key feature and functions of web service, what is JSON, JSON object and JSON array. We will discuss key difference between JSON and XML. We have also learned various methods of JSON object, and at the end we have discussed about asynchronous task and its 4 methods. So I hope you enjoy this session. Thank you and happy learning.
स्वाध्यायः परमः